Hello. As soon as I started, the dog started barking. Neighbor's dog wants to say hi. Welcome to Mid-Month Book Bash. It is Friday, August 9th. The light might be weird because I don't have our umbrella up right now. It's not super hot today, which is nice, and I'm in the backyard. I can't show you the rest of the backyard because it doesn't look great right now. Our lawnmower broke, and so we've got quite the dandelion field going on right now. My husband's waiting for a part for it to come in. Then he can mow our lawn, which won't do anything about the big dead spot in the middle, but whatever. Anyway, we're starting big mid-month book bash, and I might actually have something interesting to watch this time. We'll see. I wanted to start with what I'm kind of working on. So, I have a couple books. How should I start this? Well, I am still reading As I Lay Dying with Faulkner in August, and Faulkner's hard. This is my first Faulkner, and so I've kind of adjusted my expectations. I got a little hair thing going on here. Adjusted my expectations that this is going to be kind of an adjustment read for me. I'm really sorry. Our picnic table. I'm really enjoying the discussions on the Voxer group about it, and it's giving me a lot of insight, but the book is hard. I mean, Faulkner is a hard author, and so you got to start somewhere. And you also need to challenge yourself sometimes. So this is my challenge. Light is really terrible here. Anyway, the next book I have, so this is a reread for me, and I'm doing this with Kim at Kim's Book Life, which is not a channel, she's a commenter, but you've seen her in my comments before. This is Ordinary Grace by William Ken Krueger. I have read this book. I read it over 10 years ago, I think. I read it a long time ago. I read it the first year of my postal book group, so I need to kind of look up and see exactly when that was. And this was, I think it was still in hardcover. But I loved it, but I also forgot a lot about it. So it's been really great rereading this. This is it's not really a coming of age story. His standalones tend to be, they kind of focus on like teenage boy kind of seeing life or whatever. This one's more of a mystery about some deaths that happen in his town, but the characters are really, really well drawn, and I'm enjoying this. I am sticking to a chunk by chunk schedule, so I'm actually going to finish this, provided I am able to read it every day. I'm going to finish this on Sunday. The next book, I don't know if I'm going to finish this week or not, because I just started it last night. I also am not entirely sure that I'm going to keep up with it, because I've only read one chapter of it. And I'm not entirely sure it's for me, but I can't judge on one chapter. And that is Lenny Marks Gets Away with Murder by Kerryn, Mayne. This is an Australian mystery. First of all, it makes me think of Finlay Donovan is Killing It, which is a book that I liked, but then I didn't like. I mean, it's just a little fluffy. And it doesn't help that there's a character in there named Mrs. Finlay, and that keeps messing me up. But we'll see. We'll see how this one goes. Did I say it's Australian? It's Australian. Yeah, so I'm going to continue on with that. If not, I have a lot of other books on my Kindle, and I'll keep you updated. This is not a book that I am going to finish this weekend, but I'm going to keep reading on it. And I haven't shown you guys what my short story collection that I'm currently working on is, and it is this one, The Red Convertible by Louise Erdrich. As you can see, I have quite a ways still left to go. I'm only about halfway through it. And the stories are generally not very long in here. Those stories are 1978 to 2008, so I don't know when these stories, I wonder if there's a little thing back here that tells you when they've come in. So the next story, the one I'm going to read today is called Anna. And is it going to tell me when that was published? No, it is not. Some of them I can give you a date on, but other ones I can't. So I'm just reading one of these a day. It's going to be a while. I probably will not be reading it for next month's mid-month book bash, but no promises. And then this book I kind of do want to finish. So if you guys have been watching my video, now the sun comes out, so the light is going to be, I'm complaining about the sun. Anyway, the cat's over there like, what is going on with my yard? Anyway, because my eyes get tired, I have eye issues, I usually set a timer, and I usually don't read for more than 30 minutes at a time unless I'm on sprints. So today is Friday, and I'm going to go on Alex at Frankfurt on her sprints. I always do those, and she does usually 45 minutes, which is fine. But I do 30 minutes. So sometimes if I'm like reading a story out of, let's say I'm reading a story out of here, and it doesn't take me 30 minutes, so I still have like 10 minutes or 5 minutes left to read, I'll pick this up, which is Poems New and Collected by that person. And I'll read some poems. And I just have a little bit left to go on it. This was recommended by Maria Andrea at Books and Bocadillos. This author won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Now, these are translated poems from Polish. So those are very interesting to read, but they're very accessible. She puts me in mind a little bit of Billy Collins. Maybe not as light as Billy Collins, but that sort of just everyday observation thing is there. But I need to finish this because it's for my pal's bingo. I need to do a book of poetry, and there isn't that much left to do. So really, I only have, look, I'm on page 227 and I need to get to page 270, and there's a lot of white space in these pages, so it's not going to take me that long. But I am going to just set the goal to finish this during this mid-month book bash. So what is going on this weekend? Today is Friday. Nothing big going on here. Just reading. I'm going to be reading and editing videos because I've done a lot of video filming today. Got to take advantage of the makeup. And tomorrow we are going to, some people at our church have a lake house, so they have like a little gathering every year, and we're going to go to that. But we're going to go early and leave early because I have a book club back here at 5, and it's like an hour and a half to their lake house. So we're going to go early. The kids may swim. I don't know. It's not the best lake for swimming because it's a man-made lake. It's really silty, but it's still gonna be fun. And it's pretty out there. So I'll take some video of that. My nose is itchy. This happens when I'm outside. And then on Sunday, I have a 4-hour Girl Scout service unit retreat, which is not going to be interesting, and I'm not going to film it, but it's going to, you know, I'll talk about it if anything interesting happens. Probably nothing of it that you will be the least bit interesting will happen in it. But yeah, so I have that going on. My husband is actually going to be gone on Sunday because his grandmother died in April. It was like the 2 days before or 2 days after her 97th birthday. She lived a long life and she had a good death. You know, we will miss her, of course, but you can't hope for more than that. But they're having a memorial service up in Federal Way, which is my Tacoma, just up I 5, on Sunday. And of course, it's a day that I have something I can't get out of, and my daughter has something I can't get out of, so she can't get out of. So my husband's just going to go up by himself to it. And we're going to stay. I'm going to do my Girl Scout thing. Lily's going to do her Girl Scout thing. Chris is going to sit on his butt and watch television after church. We, of course, have church. So that is what's going on for my weekend. And I will try to give you some updates. And if I have anything interesting to watch you, I will kind of see if I show you my kitty. Alice thing. Alice, where are you? There she is. She's like, don't film me. She's like my teenagers. Don't film me, Mom. But she's right there. She used to always, when the weather's nice, come out and be in the backyard. She loved being in the backyard, and she's good about staying in the backyard. The only time she gets out is if we don't let her in right away, and then she'll go around to the front door. Just jump over the fence and go around the front door. But lately she's been not wanting to be in the backyard, so I was kind of surprised she came out today. She might go in right when I go in. We'll see. I'm going in now because it's like muggy here, which is not pleasant, and not usual for Oregon, but you know, climate change. Anyway, until my next update. Well, this is nice to look at, I know, but I need some advice from people who know about gardening. This is a fig tree that some friends of ours were moving. They gave us the fig tree, so my husband transplanted it, and it immediately sort of kind of shriveled up. Is there any hope for it? Or is it just because it's in shock that it kind of did this? Or is it dead? I don't know. I'd really like to have a fig tree. It has little tiny figs on it that were there before, and now they're just kind of like shriveled and gross. So, see right there. But yeah. Anyone knows anything about gardening and fig trees, let me know. This, by the way, is our little apple. Oh, so there's an apple back there. There's the kitty. Hi, Alice. We have an Asian pear tree back there. We have an apple tree, so I think that's a red delicious back there. We also have a Bartlett pear, but these didn't really flower this season, so we're not going to get much. That's okay. We don't actually eat these apples. My husband makes like apple sauce out of them. And then over here, we have the sunflower that needs to be watered, but hey, that's my husband's deal. They bought this at Costco just cause. And then my husband has these tomato plants, and those look like just cherry tomatoes, but look over here. We have Roma tomatoes coming in. I'm kind of amazed. This is the first time he's actually succeeded somewhat at tomatoes. And I think our blueberries are pretty much done for the season. Well, it's not a bumper crop. Oh, but look at this. over here we have these ever-bearing raspberries, or excuse me, strawberries. We're starting to get some down there. Not quite ripe, but they're getting there. My husband will come pick all these for us, so yeah. Okay, we're on our way out to Fishhawk Lake, and we are driving through this little town called Vernonia, which is this little town that kind of pops up in the middle of nowhere. It used to be a lumber town, but the lumber industry isn't really going anymore, so now we have little like cafes, and then over here, well, in just a moment you'll see it, there's a big lake, which is not the lake we're going to, but there's a lake. Oh, there's a nice little Mexican restaurant. So yeah, this is a very interesting little town. Okay, so here we're coming on the other side of Vernonia, and over here somewhere, like I thought the lake was back there, but it's not. There's a big lake here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Okay, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I totally like missed the lake. I was looking at the directions, but there's a lake over there. I'll give you a last little pick at Vernonia, and now we're heading up to the other lake where we are going to, which is Fishhawk Lake. This is Fishhawk Lake. The kids are over there. They don't want to be on video, so I'm going to skip the video of the kids, except for my son's getting out. This is a man-made lake from the 50s, but there's houses all around. People were out paddle boarding, which I don't do. I'm not getting in the water, but my kids are already in it. So we're on our way back into Vernonia, and my husband pulled over so we could see the lake that I completely missed the first time we were going through. There's this trail right here. I believe that goes all the way down into Forest Grove, which is the town that's south of here, but I wanted to show you all the lake.
What's the name of the lake?
I don't know what the name of the lake is.
Lake Vernonia.
It's Lake Vernonia. I probably could have guessed that. There you go. Hey, it's Saturday, 10th, the night, and as soon as I start talking, someone with a noisy car comes. Anyhow, I did some footage today from our little trip out to Fishhawk Lake. We were there for a couple hours. The kids swam, they had fun, talked with people that we'll talk with again tomorrow morning at church, but hey, that's life. Just wanted to do a little update on my reading. So I forgot to mention a book that I said I was going to be working on this week, and I do want to talk about it. It's my Historathon book for Q3, and it is Young Queens, 3 Renaissance Women and the Price of Power by Leah, Redmond, Chang. So this was longlisted for the inaugural Women's Prize Nonfiction book. It didn't make the short list, but I ordered it like right away because I was like, that's what I want to read. So the 3 queens in question are Catherine de Medici, Elizabeth of Valois, and Mary Queen of Scots. So Catherine of Medici was married, she was basically an orphan who was married off to a younger son of the King of France, who, through the way things kind of worked back then, ended up becoming the King of France. Elizabeth of Valois was her daughter, and Mary Queen of Scots was her daughter-in-law, because she married, they married kids back then. So it's really interesting. So as I said before, I have a degree in history, and this is kind of my jam. Now, I knew a lot about Elizabeth, Mary Queen of Scots, and nothing that I have read so far in this book has changed my view of her at all. It's kind of what I've expected from Mary Queen of Scots, which is fine. It's interesting. I didn't really know anything about Elizabeth of Valois, except for a long time ago, I read a book. I don't even remember the name of the book, but it was about a woman who was an Italian painter who was sent to the Spanish court to teach the queen how to paint. True story. Well, the queen was Elizabeth of Valois, and the, I don't know if I can pronounce this artist's name right. It was Sofonisba Aguinsola. I don't remember the name of the book, but it was a good book. So that was a nice little tie-in, but I really didn't know much about Elizabeth of Valois. What is interesting is I had heard quite a lot about Catherine de Medici, and she'd always come across, and I've always been told she was like the godmother, pulling the strings, being very much like that. And I'm getting a very different picture of her in this, that she's just a very loving mother who really is looking out for her children. She has quite a few children. So that's really interesting. Just whenever I can someone gives me a different view of a historical figure, I really appreciate that. So I'm really enjoying this book. I have it tabbed up, so I'm only reading about 20 pages a day. But I do plan to finish it this month. I'm halfway through, that far through ish. The other update is I did soft DNF Lenny Marks is Getting Away with Murder, or whatever that book was. And the reason was, reading it, the main character is, I haven't gone far enough to know if she's ever diagnosed or anything like that, but she's very clearly on the autism spectrum, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm also reading right now, for my book by a disabled author or protagonist, I'm reading The Heart Quotient, Love Quotient, Helen Hoang, her book. And the main character in that one is diagnosed as an adult of having Asperger's. So these two characters are very similar and in a lot of ways, and it was just too much to read two books, two very different books. One is a probably closer on the cozy side, not a cozy mystery, but getting closer to the cozy side mystery novel, and one's a romance, and it was just too much of the same kind of thing going on. So I do plan to read Lenny Marks at a later date. Instead, I started a book called The Hearts of Horses by Molly Gloss. This is going to, on my bingo sheet, it's going to be my set in Oregon book. This is historical fiction. It's set 1917, 1918, about a young woman who breaks horses in Eastern Oregon. And the author is from Oregon, so I could also require a Pacific Northwest author one, but I'm going to do my set in Oregon one. So really, the only square on my bingo card I need to figure something out for still is Pacific Northwest author, which should be easy. I have the Plover, which is the follow-up to my favorite book, Krueger, that I may try to get to this month. Brian Doyle lived in Oregon. He's passed, but he's an Oregon author, so I think I might do that. So yeah, that's my plan on that. Noisy traffic. My husband and dinner has been a thing. We're not having dinner because the kids ate it was a potluck, so they ate. But my husband's hungry because he's on keto and doesn't eat all this food, and then he was like, "What's for dinner?" And I was in my book club, and I'm like, "You could have made yourself dinner for the last hour and a half. So why?" So I said, "Here's some ground beef. Do something." So here you go. So I'm waiting for him to finish, and then I'm going to make myself a PB&J. That's what I'm having for dinner, PB&J. And yes, and the cat is glaring at me right now. She is not happy because I had to take her food dish away. Not because of anything she did. She was a good kitty, but because the ants have found it. And yeah, so we need to figure something out with that. I did order some ant traps, but they're not going to get here for a couple days. So I might just put some food out for her in a kind of higher up dish, maybe. We'll see. That gets rid of at least holds off the ants until I can figure out what's going on. I hate ants. I hate them, and they're bad this year. They're always bad, like at the beginning of the summer and towards the end of summer. And they're just bad this year. And there you go. Notice I am not in Boring Corner. My Live from Boring Corner video came out today, and people are like, "Oh, you're not boring." I'm like, yeah, but my corner is boring, and I know it, and I embrace it. But yeah, I don't usually take on comments like that. I would just normally just whatever, because that person's never commented on my blog before, and he got my name wrong. I'm assuming it's a he. Maybe I shouldn't make that assumption, but I am. Just message on what it was. You got my name wrong. And then he said, "I love your channel, but you really need to spend more time making your background more inviting," or something. And I was like, "You're basically telling me to smile more, aren't you?" So there, I was generous in that video that I did today, that went out today. I'm not so generous right now. That's kind of what I was thinking. Anyway, tomorrow, church. My husband's gonna go up to the funeral without me, and which is fine. And then I have a Girl Scout meeting in the afternoon, but I have not read at all today. So I am gonna go, after I make my PB&J, I am going to go read some books, and I'll talk to y'all later. Hey, it is Monday. I meant to do a little update video yesterday on Sunday, but it just didn't happen. In church, I showed you a little footage of church. That was early, so it was before people got there. Not that our church is that crowded, but there are more people than it looks like in that video. And then we came home, and I had a Girl Scout service team meeting, and that went a lot longer than I expected. It was a great meeting, very productive. It just went longer than I expected, and then had to pick up dinner. And by the time I got home, I was tired, so I just read some. I really wasn't up to doing an update video. So yeah, right now I'm in the parking lot waiting to pick up my son from his coding camp. So I'll show you this. So right there, that's our vet, and then right next to that at Code Ninjas, that's where my son's in his camp. It's a coding camp. Actually, this one is like a creative design camp he's doing. But anyway, so this weekend I did finish Ordinary Grace. I was going to finish it on Sunday and I'm buddy reading it with Kim, and she was a little bit behind me until Saturday. And then she just went ahead and finished it. And I was so happy because I could go finish it at that point then. And this was a reread for me. It was a 5-star when I read it. It's still a 5-star. I'm going to do a William Kent Krueger video and I'll talk more about it in my wrap up, but oh man, that is such a fantastic book. So fantastic. Just read Ordinary Grace if you haven't read it. It is the first book of his that I read. And it was a really great introduction, but again, I'm going to be doing a video about this. So probably next Tuesday. So that, and then I started reading The Plover by Brian Doyle. Now this is the follow-up to Mink River, which is my favorite book, but I can't really tell you what it's about because the whole basis of it would spoil, just giving you even the basics of it would spoil one of the storylines in Mink River. So yeah, I will just say that I'm enjoying it so far. Even though it's a follow-up plot-wise, you don't need to read Mink River first. But Mink River isn't as far into the magical realism as The Plover is, so I might recommend reading Mink River first as a stepping stone into it on that count. I don't know. I'm not that far into it, and I kind of struggled with the first couple pages because I was reading it, and that's when my husband got home from the memorial service he went to up in Washington, and then he decided to just like come sit down like love seat across from me while I'm reading and yak on his phone while I'm trying to read. And I put my noise canceling headphones on, but they don't cancel that well. As I said, high level of oblivion. Anywho, that's kind of what's going on. Not reading news. I am fighting the battle of the ants. They are into my cat's food, and it's like we're having to move her food all the time and feed her in weirder places. And I think she's like, what is going on? What is going on in my world? The problem with that is I know I just need ant traps, right? Well, they're sold out here. I ordered some from Amazon, but they're not going to come for a couple more days because they just aren't available right away because everybody's having ant problems. So my poor cat, we're just having to move her food around all the time. But yeah, I did finally find out where the ants are coming into our house. So I know where to put the traps once we get them. So yeah, it's not been fun, and I hate ants. I just hate. I know that they serve some purpose in our world, but I could live without them. Just saying. I know that makes me a really bad environmentalist, but there you go. Anyhow, I probably need to go pick up my son in just a little bit, so I will end this here. Okay, it is Tuesday, the 13th. Is that right? Yeah, the 13th of August. It's time to wrap up this vlog. I would have done it last night, but I was reading. But I will get to that in a moment. My goal for this mid-month book bash was to finish 2 books, and I did finish both of them. The first one was Ordinary Grace by William Kent Krueger, which is still a 5-star book for me. Stay tuned. There's going to be more about William Kent Krueger coming up on the channel. But if you've never read William Kent Krueger, this is an excellent place to start. Also more about that. And then I did finally finish Poems New and Collected by Wislawa Szymborska. I think that's how you say her name. I enjoyed it. Now, it's always interesting to read poems in translation, which these are. They're translated from the Polish. Because I don't know exactly how much is really carried through, but I thought these were really approachable poems. A little bit reminded me of Billy Collins. I think Billy Collins is more whimsical than she is. She does tend to get a little dark at times, but yeah, this was a good, none of the poems are super long. Some are quite short. They were easy to read. I just would read one now and then after finishing another book. So I do recommend this as a poet to try if you want to try some more poetry. I think that she's more approachable than some other poets. There's lots of poets. I mean, you know, there's a spectrum. Now, as for other stuff that I am reading, one of the books that I was reading is, and I mentioned it before, was The Hearts of Horses by Molly Gloss. And this was for my thing. I still have to fill this out. I have 2 more. I can actually fill in an old favorite and poetry now. So these two can be filled in. But I was going to do it for my book set in Oregon because it is set in Eastern Oregon. And it just is so freaking boring. I like horses. I have nothing against horses, but that's a lot about horses and not a lot of plot, at least as far as I got. I DNF'd at 33%. So that gave me, what am I going to do for that square? And I'm not going to lie, there was definitely a temptation to go into my daughter's room and find a Ramona book to reread. But I didn't. I went to my bookshelf. Now, I just complained about how boring I found The Hearts of Horses, which is a novel. So you guys are all going to laugh when I show you what I have here because it sounds really boring. But if you know my channel, you know this is the kind of stuff I eat up and I find this fascinating. I am reading Tribal Histories of the Willamette Valley. So the Willamette Valley is where I grew up in Oregon. I live currently in the Tualatin River Valley. So the Tualatin River is just like right over there. The Willamette Valley, so the Tualatin River kind of goes like this, and the Willamette River goes like this, and the Columbia goes like this. So the Willamette River kind of runs up the center of Oregon. And the Willamette Valley is like just short, just south of Portland to I think Corvallis or Eugene. I grew up in Salem, which is smack dab in the middle of it. And this talks about the indigenous people who were in that area. Again, this is a freaking textbook. And I'm like, this is going to be more interesting than that novel I read, but I'm weird. I accept that fact. I'm a weird person. And so I've tabbed this up. I'm giving myself like 10 days to get through it. You know, it's not, there's pictures. So it's not as long as you think it is because there are, like, here's a picture right here. What did I just see a picture of? This is Chief Henry Vulcus of the Molalla tribe in full regalia in 1913. See, there you go. There's pictures in this book. Anyway, this is my book set in Oregon because you can't get more set in Oregon than a history of an area of Oregon. So anyway, that's where I am with my reading now. It was a busy mid-month book bash this month, but that's what happens sometimes. I gave you something a little bit more interesting to watch this time than last month where it was just me sitting around all weekend. And looking for my keys. Was that last month where the big deal was I had to find my keys? So this was more interesting than that. So there you go. Next mid-month book bash, I believe, is my anniversary weekend, my wedding anniversary weekend. So we'll see. I mean, not that we do anything for our anniversary. We got teenagers. You know, it's kind of like your anniversary is a big deal until you have kids. And then it's not a big deal again until after you're done, until after they're out of the house. And you can like, okay, let's be grown-ups and focus on being a grown-up again. But anyway, okay, I've got to run out of the house now. So I will leave this here. Happy mid-month book blah, 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 blah. Happy mid-month book bash. Let me try that one more time. 3rd time's a charm. Happy mid-month book bash. And I'll see you in the next video. Like, subscribe, join my Discord. Bye-bye.